Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in this video today for the Global Online Essential Oils Symposium. And I'm super excited about this specific video because I am talking to a beautiful soul today. But before we get to her, let me introduce myself in case any of you don't know me. My name is Dana Shore. I am Dr. Ollie's daughter, business manager, boss, and I am an essential oils user, Young Living, of course. For about 4 or 5 years now. I was pretty skeptical when my mom and dad introduced me to the oils and the products. So my dad had to keep sending me scientific research and articles from PubMed and stuff like that. And then I finally broke down and started using all the products. And now, of course, like everyone else, I'm addicted. And I have a wonderful person with me here today that we are going to sort of interview and chat with. I've only ever really met her once in person, but it was such an immediate connection. We had such a great time laughing until we cried and stuff like that. And I will let her introduce herself, but we do have a really interesting connection because we are both children of Young Living, people that are well known. So with me today, I have Maura. Hi, Maura.
Hi. Hey, everybody. I'm Maura McDaniel, and just a little bit about me. I started using the oils and products when I was about 6 years old because, like Dana said, my parents were really involved in Young Living, and my mom would always rub oils on the bottom of my feet before I went to school. So I really grew up with that sort of lifestyle. So all this alternative products is first nature to me. And so since I started with such a foundation of using natural products, that's just carried over into my adult life. And now it's just integrated into my lifestyle. And if you're anything like me, usually I'm so focused on my physical health and, infusing oils with my food, or if I have sore muscles, those practical uses, of course. But today we're going to focus a little bit more on the emotional balance because lately I've been really into it because I realize that creates the full circle of health, where we have our physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, financial health, and they all work together for our complete circle of health. So lately, I've been trying to be more focused in that area because I think a lot of the times our balancing our emotions can be overlooked or frivolous if we focus on it. But really, for me, it's very important to have that as part of a healthy lifestyle as well. Yeah, Dana, if you agree with me, let me know.
I think that's a really great topic to talk about. And I think, people might have clicked on this video because they want to, maybe see what the next generation of oilers are talking about, or how do I get, my 20-something daughter or niece or neighbor or whatever interested. And I think people think maybe all we care about is either, oh, it's network marketing, so, that's a great job for millennials because we don't want to sit in an office. Or it's, oh, I'm going to get them with all the, physical fitness stuff because people that are 25 love to work out and look good and whatever. And those things all may be true, but I think don't forget, we're all humans too. And we also need to focus on emotional health. And I do think there is a big wave in the sort of millennial mindset that, yes, we want to work out and look good and take our Instagram pictures and whatever. And yes, we want a job that lets us travel all over the world and take other Instagram pictures. But we are also on this big wave of sort of self-acceptance, emotional well-being. And so, the things that you use to talk to people, your own age and your kitchen table talks or your parties and your make and takes and whatever you're doing, for anyone watching this video, those things are going to work on people that are 25 to 35 too, or even 18 to 35, or I guess now you can sign up at 16. So 16 You know what I mean? Even 16-year-olds, maybe especially 16-year-olds, really need to find their emotional health and strengthen that. So I think it's a great topic, and I'm super excited to hear what your opinions are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, stuff happens in life that, can be really difficult. And I think everybody goes through like these difficult periods. That's when I really started like taking a look at the emotional blends, because it's easy to overlook it because like you see a bottle of acceptance and you're like, great, I'm accepting it, and you don't really like know what it means. Or at least for me, like I didn't really connect the dots right away. But then I started looking at different materials, and one of the books I really like that I have right here, I've been using this book. It's called Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils, and it just it explains which emotions are tied to which oil, and which oil can like help release it. Because I was doing a little bit of research, and oils can help release the cellular memory stored in our emotional brain, because we internalize different emotions and they can stay with us. So essential oils are like really helpful and a really helpful tool to release that for overall like emotional balance. It's not like you only use it if like a trauma has happened, but even just like in everyday life. So I've gotten into the habit of just not being too fancy with like how I'm applying my oils, but just like taking ylang ylang and just like putting it in my hand and then like rubbing it on the back of my neck, like just like taking time to just like use these emotional oils every day. And I think it's had a really big impact. Just like using them daily has had like a gradual impact on like my health in general.
I think it can be a little bit overwhelming for people when they see all these oils and products and all these things, and it's like, oh yeah, I do need to balance out my emotional well-being, but there's like 500 oils, and what do I do? And when do I do one in the morning and one at night, and where do I put it on my body, and how do I sniff it, or how? And I think it's great if people want to do all this stuff, but I think something great to tell people, which you basically just did, is you can start with just a couple oils in some way throughout the day, and then just make a habit of it, like the way you would take your supplements or your pills or whatever else you have to do in your life. Or heck, a habit of letting your dog out in the morning, or feeding yourself breakfast, or whatever it is. Make it part of your daily routine and stick with it, because you may not see results in a day or a month even. It might take a decent amount of time, and sometimes you might not even see the results, but other people will notice it in you. So don't get too overwhelmed and think there's only one way to use oils and for emotions and all that stuff, because I think everyone is different. Everyone responds to the oils and their frequencies differently. And so, always start small and keep adding on and see what works for you. And I think, ylang ylang, what a beautiful oil, right? What a great one to start with. I love that one. That's a good one. Good for hair too. So
totally. And I really like using something like either Joy or Ylang Ylang. Those are some of my favorite emotional oils. I like using it in the morning just to like start my day off on the right foot. I'll also use it for meditation, or just like kind of getting in the zone and like calming down your brain. I also use it with, I'm really into affirmations. So like I'll like write down a little affirmation and then like put an oil in my hands and breathe it in and like say that. And it's just kind of like retraining your brain and like reprogramming it to like a healthier mindset. Because I think like for me, like I can get bombarded with all these things, like I like to stay updated on the news, but like sometimes that's like really overwhelming. So I try to balance that out with like focusing on something a little more positive to balance that out so I don't like get in this rut, but I can still stay informed. Just like little things like that. And then like meditating just as like a stress, like to manage stress a little bit. And then I also will do like mini raindrops on my feet because like those or raindrop oils are like obviously great for physical health and like supporting your immune system, but I also find it's like very balancing for all the other systems in our body. So I'll just like do a mini raindrop on my feet, so I don't have to like have another person put it on my back. I just like go through the order and like put it on my feet real quick, and I feel like doing one of those little habits a day really has helped my overall like healthy lifestyle tenfold. Yeah.
I think the raindrop on the feet is really, really interesting. I never thought about that. I mean, I've heard of, put thieves on your feet and, lavender, things, whatever your body system you're trying to support. And the raindrop is really interesting to me too, because of course, our feet ground us to the earth. That's what, physically, of course, we're on our feet all day. They're taking a pounding, they have to do a lot of work every single day for us. And then sort of in the emotional or maybe even spiritual side of it, that is how we are connected to everything else and everyone else on the earth. And then, I think about it, your feet are the first thing that touch the ground in the morning. That's your first connection to the rest of the world. And so, the feet get overlooked, I think. I mean, people, when they use oils with their young children or, whatever else, yeah, we talk about the feet and the soles of the feet, but a regular adult, should be using our feet and the soles of our feet especially much more than we do. Like I don't really ever put oils on my feet because I'm too busy putting them everywhere else on my body or diffusing them, but it's something I've really, from talking with you now, it really struck me as like, wow, this is something I really need to do because it's the first time I connect with the earth every single morning. And we don't hop out of bed and go into a handstand. Maybe some people do, but not me. And so, I think that's a really interesting point and something I never even thought of. So that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, when in doubt, put oils on your feet because it's typically like the safest place to put them. Plus, the pores are bigger, so it absorbs faster, which is convenient. So yeah, I'm a big like we said earlier, it's there's so many oils and people don't always know what to do with them. So that's why I'm like, when in doubt, just put them on your feet. You don't have to be fancy with it. It'll absorb into your skin and affect the rest of your body. So that's just kind of like a default easy habit to get into is just using oils on your feet, either in the morning or at night. That's something I like to do. Like the emotional blends, it can be overwhelming and it's like, oh, how do I choose which one is best for me? And that I always think is just kind of like an intuitive decision. Like you can just kind of feel drawn, like, ooh, that one sounds cool. Like that's how I felt with Harmony and White Angelica. I was just like, ooh, what are those? And then I just started using them and I really, really love them. But yeah, like my top 5 favorite, I call them emo oils, but my top 5 favorite emotional oils. I already mentioned this, Joy or Ylang Ylang, because Ylang Ylangs and Joy. But yeah, that's one of my favorites just because it's like so floral and like uplifting. And then Idaho Blue Spruce, which we don't always think of as an emotional oil, but that's really good for balancing harmony, inner child, and frankincense. Those are like my go-tos.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Idaho Blue Spruce threw me off a little, but I like it. Very cool. Harmony is really interesting because I actually, last year's convention, I heard Sherry Ross talking, who's one of our symposium speakers as well. And she did an essential oils for animals workshop. And she recommended Harmony if you are bringing in a new animal into, you already have a dog, you're bringing in another dog or a cat or whatever. And she said to use that to, diffuse, or even in the car ride, bringing them home into the family, that Harmony was a really good one to kind of start blending your family. And I'm sure, I have no doubt, if it works for animals, it would work for people too. If you are merging two families, or you're bringing it home a new baby or whatever, maybe think about, diluted but diffusing some Harmony. Or let's say you're just arguing with your husband or your wife or your brother or your sister or something like that. Again, if it works for dogs, why can't it work for us? That's really interesting that you also brought that one up. That's cool.
Yeah. I also use it because sometimes I get nervous flying. So I'll use it then for sure. But yeah, Harmony is great because, again, it's like balancing for multiple bodily systems instead of just one, which I find convenient because it's like, oh yeah, like affect them all. I was going to say kill two birds with one stone, but I think it's like at least 3 different body systems that it helps. And then Idaho Blue Spruce is good for just clearing. I took an emotional workshop, and that was the oil that they would use in between using one of the more well-known emotional oils. Of course, like the Feelings Kit is a great resource as well, and that has release, forgiveness, inner child, harmony, valor 2, and one other one. I'm blanking. But yeah, that one I also really like because that's just like a good resource because it like gives you a little like pamphlet to look through that tells you like where on the body to put it. Like I know like release you can use on your liver because some people store emotions in different areas of their body. So using release on your liver, that's like good for releasing, like negative emotions. So I really like that oil as well. And, when you smell an oil, like it's emotional before it is rational, which I just like love that because your body responds to it without your brain having to like think of anything. Like it's kind of like if like you and your grandma bake cookies all the time and then you smell cookies and you're like, grandma, it's kind of like that. Like oils can like release or like trigger something in a positive way or releasing way, and can be like very clearing. And I think that as this is like my own like interpretation, of course, but I think like as generations evolve, like we're getting more like sensitive and like in tune with like other people and like the planet. And so I think that the next generation is like a sensitive generation that like wants to feel in tune with like their purpose or like meaning or like connection and like contributing to the world. And so I think that using the emotional blends and emotional oils can really help us feel connected to the issues that we care about.
I really like that. And I think, so I'm sure my dad is going to watch this and laugh at me because I'm trying to talk science, which is not my thing. But if I'm not mistaken, that in your brain, your memory part of your brain, which I believe is in the frontal lobe, I'm not sure, it is the closest scent for your memory is, the closest sense for your memory is scent. And that's why, I mean, before I even knew about the oils or anything, when I would read like study tips for the SAT or whatever, while you're studying, sniff something with a powerful scent, and that like peppermint tea or something that's very unique or whatever. And then when you take your test, also have that scent somewhere on you. Of course, now I'm like, oh yeah, essential oils, duh.
Yeah.
But because it will like light up that part of your brain, and people know it all the time, right? You do it all the time. You smell something, like you're talking about cookies baking, or when I smell very crisp air, like in the winter, it reminds me of home in Switzerland, when I was 3.5, right? I don't really remember that much of being 3.5, but those scents really stick with you. And you catch a whiff and all of a sudden you're transported back. And I think that that's also a great way to avoid negative things too, because if you have a scent that you connect with a negative experience or emotion, you're not going to want to smell that scent anymore. And so I think being aware of the positive scents in your life and trying out different blends and seeing what they recall for you. And then maybe it means you stay away from other blends or scents that are maybe more negative for you. Or maybe you try to do some therapy on yourself and, smell those sort of negative scents while you're doing something really fun or positive or something that you love, and see if you can kind of reprogram your brain. I think that's really cool. And so personally, I love transformation. It's in my diffuser necklace right now. It is exactly, I love it. Some people don't really get it, or maybe have never even smelled it. It's pretty expensive, but so I have to ration out my drops. But I love transformation, and it was one of those things where it really called to me, because a personal story of mine. I was getting ready for a dance competition a couple years ago, traveling down to Los Angeles. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what oils do I bring? I'm doing a dance competition and I can't be oiled up all the time, but maybe in the hotel room or after I perform, whatever. So I was trying to figure out what oils, and, I have my regular Stress Away, Deep Relief, frankincense, lavender, I got my old favorites. But I was looking through and I had the old sort of Silver and Six, luggage piece with all the oils, and a bunch of them I never even opened. I don't even know, it's got a name on it. That doesn't mean anything to you until you start, playing around. And so I saw transformation on one of the bottles, and I thought, well, I'm going to a dance competition where I'm becoming a character on stage. And that one, I was supposed to be very sad and heartbroken. But in my real life, I was happily married or maybe engaged at a time. And so, I had to pretend to be sad. And so, I was like, transformation, that's perfect, because I need to transform into someone else while I'm on stage. And so I brought that with me, and it was, ever since then, it's been an old favorite. So I think you really do get called out to some oils sometimes. Maybe it's the name of it. Maybe you open it and you sniff on it and then it calls to you, whatever it is. And so those are my favorites, if anyone cares. Stress Away, Transformation, Lavender, and Frankincense are kind of my go-tos as well. And then I always have Deep Relief on me. And so stuff like that. And, again, we are talking emotional oils, but sometimes you use an oil for physical reasons. It makes you feel better in whatever way. And then it becomes also an emotional oil because you connect it in your brain to feeling better, whatever it is. So those are mine.
Absolutely. No, I love that. It's so true. I remember in college you mentioned peppermint for studying or something. In college, I would use peppermint and lemon. And then later I figured out brain power was also good, but I always have peppermint and lemon no matter what. So that was something I used a lot when I was in college and studying, and also peppermint helped me stay awake to study. But yeah, it did make that connection in my brain. And another thing I always think about with essential oils is the frequency of them. And a lot of, or two of my favorite emotional oils, frankincense and rose, that's also in joy. They have some of the highest frequencies of essential oils. And so when I'm in like a funky mood, I'll use those to like bring my frequency or vibration back up. Because I think it's the frequency range of a healthy body is from 62 to 78 MHZ, and disease begins at 57 or something like that. So I try and like keep my frequency up. And it's like, the more you like pay attention to those little things, the more in tune you are, and you can kind of like feel when you start to like get under the weather, which I think is that point where like the physical health and emotional health like come together, because you have to like be sort of intuitive when you get run down. And so like just like checking in with yourself is definitely like a big factor to like keeping your health, as your dad says, above the line.
That's right.
I didn't even try to work that in.
Well, and, that's kind of a fun thing about, let's take a little segue for just a second, a little off the beaten path of what we're talking about. But business wise, talking about emotions and oils is a pretty safe area as far as compliancy is concerned, because it is very like, I don't want to say hippy dippy, but it is,
it is.
and like how you feel, and are you thinking of happy things, right? Like that's a great way to talk about the oils and not have to worry so much about compliancy. When you talk about the oils for other things, you have to be super careful, or even not even say it, just kind of wink wink, nudge nudge, or maybe whisper in someone's ear or something. Versus, we can pretty much openly talk about like, yeah, Elaine makes me feel so happy and I feel great, or when I feel sad, or I use this, and it's for anyone out there wondering and you just got started with Young Living, or you've been with Young Living doing it one way and now you have to do it a whole different way, emotions are great. You can talk about emotions pretty much all day long. So keep that in mind when you're sharing, especially like, Maura and I both just talked about, we have different oils that we use for emotions. And so don't be afraid to find your little handful of bottles that work for you. And don't be afraid to share that, and then tell other people, hey, this is what I use when I feel sad, or if I'm feeling happy and I want to keep feeling happy, or whatever it is. Hey, try out a few of these and also try out some other ones, see what works for you. And people will come up with all sorts of cool little combos and oils and stuff that they like. And so I think that's really cool, because it's not one size fits all. And then, so let's getting back on track now. Besides the oils themselves, are there any other Young Living products you recommend, or you think other people should try out if they're trying to sort of balance this emotional health part of their wheel?
Yeah, something that I've really been into lately is Thyromin. I take, and it's for thyroid or balancing your thyroid. And so it says on the bottle, it just says take 2 capsules before bed. So I've been doing that. And within the first night of taking it, I just noticed that I sleep better, which just puts me in a much better mood, and much better place overall, as if I get like that deep sleep. So that's kind of been my experiment lately with myself. And I found that it's like really helped regulate just my body systems. And yeah, of course, like your thyroid like really helps, or having a balanced thyroid helps balance your hormones, and that just kind of has like a ripple effect for your overall health as well. So that's definitely something I've been using, and I just noticed like my energy level can be maintained. Like I don't always feel like drinking coffee in the middle of the day or something. And if I do need a little pick me up, I use Ninja Red, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And so just like tuning in and like seeing how that supplement affects me, it just like makes me more intuitive to keep track of my energy and like focus on what my energy level is and how I feel, because the most important thing to me for everything is just like how I feel. Am I feeling good? Am I feeling like healthy? Like, and if I am, like, then going back to like the business stuff, I can, or other projects, I can put so much more of myself into it if I'm feeling good. And so that's kind of what I gauge, is I just keep it really simple for myself, is just like, am I feeling good? What can I do to make myself feel even better? And then once I get there, you can kind of do like a stepping ladder of like how good you can feel, like how much better can I feel today? So that that goes hand in hand with like just the supplements and oils. Even if you're just like feeling good physically, like that's like the baseline. But then when you take it to that next level of like feeling good emotionally, mentally, and like weaving in these sorts of habits that keep your emotional health up top, just, yeah, you just like keep leveling up and like feeling even better.
I love that. I think the ripple effect is huge. And I always imagine those corny commercials where, like someone picks up, some litter on the street, and then, the next person sees that, and then they decide to help someone walk across the street, and then someone else sees that, and then they donate, in the Salvation Army bucket, or like, there's commercials all about that. And there's movies where that happens and stuff like that. And I think it's totally, totally true that, people feed off of what's coming out of you. And so if you are going through life, and not that life is all rainbows and daisies, but if you're experiencing something difficult in your life, but that's also where you are constantly sort of in this vicious cycle downward, everyone that's around you is going to kind of feed into that cyclone and kind of go down with you. And if you take the conscious effort to work on yourself first, and then put this joy and this happiness and this love into the world, you and everyone around you is going to get built up. And I think that it's totally true. You notice who you're hanging out with and how they talk about stuff, or, oh my gosh, and everything. If you're around a bunch of Eeyores that are always down and depressed, it's going to bring you down. And if you're around people who are like, yeah, yesterday wasn't so good, but then I woke up today and I decided today's going to be a great day. And I work through all my emails and I feel great, or I'm going to go on a run today. I'm going to run further than I ever have, that if you're like, oh, what am I going to do today? Oh, I'm going to go, volunteer or whatever. And I think it's really important to make sure, your cup is full before you start trying to fill into other people's cups. But it totally multiplies, and it's a very, fascinating thing to watch groups of people and how they interact with each other in the outside world. And so, people will notice a change in you if you start really focusing not just on your physical health. Of course, people notice that. Not just on your financial health. People will probably notice that if you move or whatever. But really focusing on your emotional health, and people will feed off of that and say, oh my gosh, like you've been like just glowing the past few weeks, or wow, this last month you've been in such a good mood every time I saw you, and like, what are you doing, and da da da. And first of all, priority, it's a great way to share and get other people living healthier and happier lives. And then secondary, lower priority, but also important, it's a great way to share to build your network marketing business. And so, it's not always about, oh, I need to look super fit and healthy so people ask me about the oils. Really, your personality and emotional health is a huge, huge way people will reach out to you. They'll notice a difference. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And just what you were saying earlier reminded me, like a hot word right now is like empath, or like being an empath, which I think everybody is capable of being an empath, and an empath is just like somebody who is pretty sensitive to other people's energies, or like the vibe they're giving off, whatever that means to you. But so I think you can use the oils to kind of protect yourself from other people's crap that they're like projecting on you. So that's like another thing to use the oils for. I know Palo Santo is a protecting oil, or I put white angelica on when I travel because it just like, it's a protecting oil. At least that's what this book says. And just like being sensitive to other people's energy that they're giving off, you can protect yourself from that if it's not what you're looking for. And then I mentioned affirmations earlier, but that's like another way to kind of like shield yourself from the other people's projections, is like training your brain and programming your brain. And I'm like so into it that I am coming out with some affirmation cards that have an affirmation that you can say, and then the oil that corresponds with it. So then you can just like breathe it in or diffuse it as you say the affirmation. And I think, just like doing those little things can definitely be a boost for the effect you have on yourself and on other people. That's just what you're reminding me of when you were saying that.
So if people are interested in these cards of yours, little plug, you can have a little moment here to plug. Where will they be able to find them in the future, or what should they be looking out for?
They're going to be on Life Science Publishing, and they should be ready by convention.
You heard it here first, folks. Exclusive juiciness.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's something. I'm really excited about this project. And obviously this topic is near and dear to me, so that's why I like bringing it up, because because people, there's so many things to focus on, but I think that this is a super important topic. And like, I was one of those people who always put my emotional health on the back burner, and then things happen that made me really like realize like, oh, like I should be paying attention to this. So now it's just like something I really enjoy talking about and connecting with people about. And I wanted something like physical that you could like look at and use for yourself, because I think that we need more tools like that in Young Living.
And so what are your sort of resources? I know you mentioned the book and you showed it, and that's awesome. And of course, we're all going to go out and buy your affirmation cards the second they're published. But do you have any other recommendations, or what started you on your journey of like learning about emotional oils, and any recommendations?
Definitely the book Releasing Emotional Patterns, and it's by Caroline Mine. And also the Young Living blog, just like doing a quick Google search, the Young Living blog actually has like a nice listing of different emotional oils to use. The feelings kit, I think, is just like kind of your like basic starter pack, because it tells you on the little like pamphlet that comes with it how to use each oil, and in what order. Not that it totally matters what order, but just to be more powerful and more effective. That's definitely a resource. And then I'm really into this is more of like mindset side of things, but I'm really into Mike Dooley, and I love his book, Infinite Possibilities. That's because I know Young Living people are really into like personal growth. So that's like my go-to book for personal development is Mike Dooley, Infinite Possibilities. And he kind of covers all bases when it comes to mental health. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like all those things. And so I'm going to look into that book, both of those books. And all that good stuff. That's really cool. The Young Living blog, I mean, I think people, I mean, when I see it pop up on Facebook or whatever, or I click on it, it's a lot of like DIY recipes for your house or like things like that. But there is a whole other side to it. And it should be mentioned, people use things in their house for certain reasons. And maybe, how to make your laundry smell fresher or whatever the reason is. There is an emotional side to every single thing you can do with the oil. So always keep that in mind. Even if you're specifically looking for emotional type information or whatever, look at everything that's also maybe not necessarily blatantly, for your healing of your, feelings and stuff like that, because you might discover some really cool stuff that you didn't even know about.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully a lot of people can be at convention, because I think there's a couple workshops about a similar topic as well. So that would be another, that would be more of an event resource, but I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too, because I get to see you again.
Yay!
That's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, anything else laying on your heart that you want to let these hopefully more than a dozen people who watch this video? I don't know who's going to watch it, but anyone who's watching this in the future, what do you want them to know? Any last words? Anything else you want to talk about?
My number one motto is you're your own health guru. So you're the only one who can decide for yourself what feels good and what feels healthy to you. And the more people get in tune with being intentional and in tune with themselves and following and trusting their intuition about what's right for their bodies, that's always my number one thing is you're your own health guru. The oils, getting a pack of 10 oils can be overwhelming, but just keeping it simple and setting yourself up for success of just not getting overwhelmed, just using one oil a day, or just buying one emotional oil and seeing what happens using it at a yoga class, or diffusing it, keeping things super simple, and noticing how you respond to it. That's my number one thing.
I think that's a really good point, because, obviously you should use your up line, use your cross lines, even listen to your down lines. What are they using for what? Yeah. People like my dad, Dr. Ollie, or Royal Crown Diamonds like Connie Marie, they have all this awesome information, and you should listen. But at the end of the day, you're the one putting these oils on, in, around your body, around your family. It's really going to be up to you to decide what makes the cut for you, what you need help with, and you might discover something that these fancy people don't even know about. And, so I think don't be afraid to listen to people and go to these workshops at convention, watch all the videos at the symposium. But at the end of the day, listen to your heart and your gut about what works and doesn't work for you, because your body and your soul will tell you what it needs. You just have to listen.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm so excited. People will be able to put a face to the name when they see your affirmation cards.
Yes.
And that's going to be awesome. And if you see, not Connie, oh my gosh, if you see Maura at convention, give her a big hug. And thank you all for watching this video today. I hope you gathered some really great products and information. And at the end of the day, I hope you just realize the emotional journey is definitely a very personal one. And so that's at the heart what should always be your priority. So cool. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep. Bye.